Alright my friends, we're back again, and if you like a chunky shoe, if you like a shoe that is soft, that is going to baby your body, then you have come to the right place today, because today we are looking at the New Balance More V6. And right off the bat, I tell you, I'm a fan of soft shoes, and this is a treat to run in. So let's get into it. First of all, I just want to say that this video is in collaboration with my friends over at Roadrunner Sports, and they were good enough to send me this pair of the New Balance More V6 for the purpose of review. However, they haven't told me what to say. They don't have any editorial privileges, and all the thoughts and opinions are my own. And of course, if you want to pick up a pair of the New Balance More V6, you can by heading over to Roadrunner Sports and picking it up for $155. And as always, when this happens, and it seems to happen less and less, but the price hasn't gone up over last year. So that in itself makes the New Balance More V6 a really good deal. Now, right off the bat, I have to tell you that this is the first More I have ever run in, so I was really excited to try it out. But because of that, I can't compare it to past Mores. I don't know any more than what this More has given me. But I can tell you that from last year, the More V5, the stack height has gone up by 1mm. We now have 44 in the heel, 40 in the forefoot for a 4mm drop. So for those of you out there that love a low drop and a lot of stack, the More V6 is the shoe you've been looking for. Now, because of that 44 in the heel, 40 in the forefoot, this is obviously a max stack shoe. And because it's a max stack shoe, it's good at max stack things. So think long runs, easy runs, those daily miles when you're really like not putting in too much of an effort. But I tell you, I was actually surprised how nimble this shoe is for its size. And of course its weight, because of course it's not like a nimble race day shoe that's feather light. No, this thing does carry a little bit of weight, but it's definitely on the lower end, at least compared with some of the comparables that we'll take a look at a bit later in the video. But New Balance claims that in a US men's size 9.5, the More V6 will tip the scale at 10.8 ounces or 306 grams. However, in my size, a US men's size 12.5, More V6 will tip the scale at 12.8 ounces or 363 grams. So even though that number does seem high, I gotta tell you, this is still a very fun shoe to run in. And yes, I realize I am using the word fun to describe a max cushion daily trainer, and that doesn't happen often. But maybe it's fun in a different way, because usually I describe fun as being more speed. And this kind of fun is kind of like nimbleness mixed with comfort. I don't know, I still stand by it. It's a fun shoe. But before we get into the ride, let's just talk about the rest of the shoe, and we will start at the top and work our way down. And I want to show you that heel collar, because what I really like, and guys, you're going to hear this time and time again when I see it, but when I see a max cushion shoe that doesn't have like a boatload of cushioning around the heel collar, guys, I am so here for it. You know, a lot of times they just cram in so much cushioning, and it must add to the weight. I mean, I know a little bit of stuffing doesn't weigh much, but it doesn't weigh nothing. So when it's fairly thin, like it is here on the More V6, I am very happy to see it. And the padding on the More V6 is very biased towards the top, and it gets a lot thinner as it goes down, which, as you know, that's kind of how your heel is shaped. So I do get a good lockdown when my heel slides into the shoe. That good lockdown is also because of this rigid heel counter, which is actually new this year on the More V6, because last year it was quite floppy and you were able to like push it down. And I'm sure there was at least one of you out there that had a little heel slip from that looser heel counter. So this year we have a rigid heel counter, and I think it's really going to make a difference. I didn't experience any heel slip in the More V6, but for those of you that watch my videos, you'll know that that's really nothing surprising. We do have a little heel flare right here. I mean, there's no heel pull, but there's a nice soft bit right at the top, and you can get a good grip if you need that to pull the shoe on. But if you're anything like me, by that I mean like slightly lazy, when you have a shoe that is fairly rigid around the back with a heel counter, I can usually just put my foot in and then kind of step into the shoe, use my weight to seat the heel. So you can actually put the shoe on either way, depending on how motivated you are about getting your shoes on that day. The upper of the More V6 it's fairly breathable for the class of shoe that it's in. I've had no complaints running in this shoe, and I've been running in the summer and it's been very warm. So if we compare it to other daily trainers, other max cushion daily trainers, the upper is fairly breathable. I am liking the design that New Balance has got on this upper. You can see we've got these raised bits, just adding a little bit of style to the upper, and that's where the laser cut holes are to hopefully give a little more breathability. As far as overlays go, yeah, we've got the logo on the lateral and the medial side. We have an underlay that's coming around the toe box that keeps the upper nicely off your toes. In fact, while we're talking about the toe box, I found this to be very pleasantly wide. Now, I have a medium to narrow foot, and I had plenty of room in this shoe. So now we're talking about this. Let's just say that the New Balance More V6 does fit true to size. I wear a US men's size 12.5 in this, and I wear a US men's size 12.5 in all other New Balance shoes. So if you have worn New Balance in the past, just stick with what you know as far as sizing goes. But if you do have maybe, I don't know, a little wider feet, but not wide enough to go for a wide version, I think you're going to be very comfortable in the More V6. It's quite roomy without being overly so. All right, back to the overlays. As far as the eyelet chain goes, yeah, you can see we've got this single piece of plastic that runs down from the first eyelet chain all the way up to the last. And while we're up here, let me just point out this little extra lace hole that is there just in case you still get heel slip and you need to do the lace lock. You just make a little loop, tie it off, and that is going to lock your heel in nicely. The laces on the More V6, yeah, nothing to talk about. They didn't come untied once, and that's all I want. The sock liner of the More V6 is removable in case you wanted to put something else in it. It is fairly thin, so on this shoe, I don't think the sock liner is actually giving you too much extra protection, but you know, it does its job. And if you've got something custom that you want to use, then that's easy to just pull out and replace. The tongue, just like the heel collar, is surprisingly thin for a max cushion daily trainer. Usually I am expecting to see just an overstuffed tongue, and these overstuffed tongues kind of, they give an image of comfort without actually providing more comfort. The tongue on the More V6 is thick enough that you're not going to have any lace pressure on the top of your foot, and yet it's thin enough that it's saving weight, and we're not putting more than we need into the tongue. There is no lace loop on the front of the More V6, but the tongue is gusseted on both sides, so you're not going to have any tongue migration with this shoe. Now let's come down to the midsole, and the More V6 is part of, you can see it right here on the back, it's part of New Balance's Fresh Foam X line. Now, have you run in a shoe with Fresh Foam X? If you have, drop a comment and let me know which one. And I have a couple of shoes on hand that are using Fresh Foam X. So right now, as I set up for this video, I have the New Balance 880 version 15 and I have the 1080 version 14. Both of these are using Fresh Foam X, and I only bring these shoes out to let you know that all Fresh Foam X is not created equal, because these three shoes ride and feel completely different underfoot. And if I had to put them like in order of softness, the 880 is actually a fairly firm shoe. In fact, if you like a soft ride, I probably wouldn't be recommending the 880 to you. Somewhere in the middle is the 1080, and this is New Balance's premium daily trainer. So it's a little softer than the 880, it's a little less soft than the More V6, but that is simply because with the 880, it's looking to do a little more. Like, you're going to want to pick up the pace a little more than you are in the More V6. So I think it benefits from that slightly firmer Fresh Foam X. And then the softest of the lot is the More V6. In fact, I would say that the More V6 is the softest shoe that I've ever run in. Or, let me just get rid of these. I should say it's the softest shoe that I've ever run in that I actually enjoy running in, because as someone that is typically a fan of softer shoes, I do recognize that softer shoes, they aren't good all the time. I mean, you can't have just unlimited softness, because that softness sometimes comes with a little lack of responsiveness. And when you don't have just a little bit of snap in a soft shoe, it just feels like it's draining your energy. And nobody wants that, right? I mean, when we're going out for a run, we are using more than enough energy anyway. We don't need an external factor sucking extra energy from us. I'm happy to say that the More V6 doesn't do that. Hold on, we're almost to the ride. Let's just take a quick look at the outsole. Yeah, we got a good amount of outsole rubber. Out here on the lateral side heel, which is where I am going to be touching down 100% of the time in this shoe, right? Let's just be clear. That is where I'm going to be landing all the time in this shoe. And while I am seeing a little bit of wear, which is totally to be expected, mainly because this part of the shoe is going to be getting the most wear from me on any run, I'm going to touch down there and then roll through and toe off. I'm not seeing anywhere up here on the forefoot outsole rubber. Maybe a little bit of wear on this exposed midsole foam, but yeah, that's nothing. I do just want to point out the New Balance has added just a little more rubber here on this lateral heel. In fact, you can see on the medial side, they haven't filled in the rubber, but they have on the lateral side, because they know that's where we touch down. So just based on the amount of wear that I have and the amount of rubber that it looks like is on the shoe, I'm going to say that the More V6 is going to last an average to a little above average in terms of durability goes. Okay, so now let's talk about the ride. And this is the part that I really wanted to get to, because I'm excited to tell you how much I enjoyed running in this shoe. I will also tell you that my expectations were just a little low. I didn't expect to enjoy it as much as I did. That's because with 44, 40 and just feeling it, I mean, this is a very soft foam. I was like, oh, this thing is just going to be an energy suck. And it wasn't in the slightest. In fact, I have to tell you that I was surprised how peppy this shoe actually felt. Now look, I'm not going to take this shoe out for a tempo run. I'm not going to take it out for intervals. But it isn't one of those shoes. It isn't one of those daily trainers that just gets relegated to easy runs. If you have to do strides at the end of your run, then this is surprisingly going to work quite well. And that is not just a product of the soft Fresh Foam X foam. New Balance has also redesigned the rocker. And because of that, the shoe flows very smooth. And I think that is more important than the actual foam in this case. Because once you get running in the shoe, it just feels like you want to keep running. And if we can find something like that that actually helps us run, that actually makes us want to run, then I think we're onto a winner. Now, I will be clear, this is a soft shoe. If you're not a fan of soft shoes, then it doesn't matter what I say. It doesn't matter how peppy the shoe is. It's probably not going to work for you. And just to be clear, the More V6 is not going to work for everyone. But if you like your running shoes to be nice and plush, nice and soft, and yet still maintain a little bit of peppiness, then the More V6 is definitely worth taking a look at. But of course, the New Balance More V6 does not exist in a vacuum. There are a lot of competition. In fact, there's a lot more competition than I have on hand to actually compare, because this max cushion daily trainer segment of the market is just blowing up. To me, it seems like this is where we're seeing the most amount of growth. But if I was to compare price and stack height and kind of use case scenario, I think if you are thinking of picking up a pair of the More V6, you might also be considering the Nike Vomero 18. Now, the Vomero 18 is just a little less expensive than the More V6. It comes in at $150 compared with $155. The Vomero 18 has a little more stack in the heel. We have 46 and 36 for a 10mm drop. Now, remember, this has a 4mm drop. So I know that the same type of runner is probably not going to be looking at both of these, but maybe if you weren't looking for a max cushion daily trainer and you're not sensitive to drops, then these would be good comparables. As far as ride goes, I think the Vomero 18 is just a little firmer. This is still a fairly smooth ride, but the foam is not as soft as the More V6. Okay, next up, I want to compare it to the Hoka Bondi 9. Now, this is a very good comparable, except in price. The Hoka Bondi 9 will cost $170, so it's $15 more expensive than the More V6. And the Bondi 9 has 43 in the heel, 38 in the forefoot for a 5mm drop. So the drop is very similar. And what's also similar is the weight. In my size, the Bondi 9 will tip the scale at 362 grams. And remember, my size in the More V6 is 363 grams. So yes, the More V6 is 1 gram heavier than the Bondi 9, but what's a gram between friends? It's not noticeable when they're on your feet. Now, as far as the ride goes, Hoka is using their supercritical EVA in the Bondi 9, which is a very good foam. It feels quite snappy, but the ride is a little firmer. So again, if you are looking for a max cushion daily trainer and you like a slightly firmer ride, then maybe go with the Bondi 9. But again, if you're looking for that plushness, it's the More V6 all the way. Finally, I think you also have to think about the ASICS Gel Nimbus 27. Now, the ASICS Gel Nimbus 27 is ASICS' flagship max cushion daily trainer. Nimbus 27 has 43 in the heel, 35 in the forefoot for an 8mm drop. It's a little more expensive at $165 compared with $155. And in my size, the Nimbus 27 tips the scale at 372 grams, which is 9 grams heavier than my size in the More V6. And I think that the ride of the Nimbus 27 is the most similar to the More V6, but again, Nimbus 27 is just a little firmer, which is going to be the story across the board, because I am going to be surprised if anything is quite as soft as the More V6. So guys, what do you think? What do you think of the New Balance More V6? Have you run in any of the Mores? Can you think of any other shoes that could be a good competitor to the More V6? Definitely drop a comment and let me know. But for now, it's Matt B. This has been my review of the New Balance More V6. Be kind, be happy, run well. See you in a couple of days.